Hello everyone, welcome back to Timberborn. This is episode 28 on the road to 1000 beavers. In the last episode we continued to work on our reservoir over here. We're in a good spot. We have some water that's getting pumped into here. We did connect our power system in. So as you can see, the power shafts go along under here and then they go underground and connect into all these water wheels. Unfortunately we are in a drought, so there's not going to be any power going to them at the moment, but we do have our backup windmills, and then those are connected into some gravity batteries. But I suspect we'll need to add in some more gravity batteries and windmills by the end of this episode. And this is all happening in our Flattail Hill district. This is our latest one. We currently have 73 beavers in this district with 2 vacant beds. Overall we have just over 650 beavers, but we need to make some more progress. So in today's episode I'm going to try and add some jobs to this district, and then maybe look at some other districts and see if we can fit some more jobs in there as well. And then heading over to one of our more established districts, we have the Beaverland Hills district right here. We added in some carousels and the beavers are enjoying those at the moment. We still need to connect this last one in, and then we also added in some fun activities for the beavers, but we are missing wheat in this district, so we need to make sure that we actually have some storage for that. I got a little distracted during the last episode and focused on grilled spatterdock, which is another topic for today's episode, but we do need to get some sort of small storage for wheat. That way we can get some over here. Thankfully we have a perfect spot to get a medium warehouse set up, and this will be a pretty easy fix right off the bat, since even though we have no wheat in this district, we have almost 3,000 wheat overall. So the beavers should be able to transfer it between districts fairly easily, although we might need to add a second district crossing, and that should be relatively easy to do considering we have so many unemployed beavers. In this district we have 10, and then in our main district of Bavaria, it looks like we are just a little bit short on beavers, but I think that we have a bunch of extra jobs, and a lot of those are in the builders' huts. As you can see, we have some beavers sitting around, and then we have even more builders over here. All of these are normal or slightly low priority. So between all these builders' huts with the beavers and bots, plus we have a couple more of these hauling posts, which all of them are not super high on the priority list since we have a fair amount of those already. So we only have a few vacant jobs, so we can hop back over to that district crossing and then add in another one. And then let's bump both of these district crossings up to 10 beavers, and then hopefully that should help the efficiencies between the two districts increase a little bit. And it looks like the beavers do have wheat in this district now since they are working on finishing up those mud baths. And then let's take a look at the beavers' well-being in this district. That was part of the focus in the last episode. It seems like food is doing much better. We still have maple pastries that we can work on. And then social life could use a few improvements. So we can build a few more fun activities over here and then get some decorations set up as well. We can fit in a couple more of these medium warehouses, and then these will actually be a perfect spot, or maybe even on top of here, for some more rooftop terraces. In fact, let's actually not add this one in, and then we can add in a bucket of rooftop terraces right here. We can use this area to get some stairs going up top. And then something else we focused on in the end of the last episode was getting a zipline station across these power shafts, because I want to get another aquatic farm set up over here. So now that we have access over here, if we extend the path so that we can actually reach those dirt blocks at the backside, then we can also start adding in some dynamite to lower this elevation. If we get some tunnels set up under here, then the water will be able to spread over here. And then this whole area will be a place that we can plant some of the grilled spatterdock, or not the grilled spatterdock, but just the regular spatterdock. And really we don't need a lot of tunnels going under here. We just need to have enough that the water can easily get into this section, and then we'll add an aquatic farmhouse on this side and then another one over here as well. And the beavers are working well into the night. We actually have quite a few hungry and thirsty beavers, but they're getting all this dynamite placed down, and I guess that we'll be able to get it done by the morning since we also have some bots that should be helping out as well. Unfortunately, our power system is once again depleted. We have no power in these gravity batteries, and even though we did add in some power wheels over here, these can only provide power during a wet season or a bad tide, and so we don't have quite enough to handle it during a drought, which means that we probably need to focus on some more gravity battery storage. But we have nearly utilized all the space that we can over here. We might need to turn our attention maybe over to this section or to our other district way over in the corner here. We do have some good elevation, so I don't think it'd be too difficult to tie in a few gravity batteries along this way. And since these guys are sitting around a bit, I think that it's worth getting those set up. So we can start adding in some gravity batteries all along here. And I know that we could go up in elevation a bit to get even more power, but I don't want it to be too much of an eyesore when you look at this district. But we can place some dynamite all along here, and the beavers should be able to reach it since it's right below the surface. And I put in some platforms to give them access to the front. And then as long as we connect in this building to these gravity batteries, the whole power system will be one unit. And now we can detonate all this dynamite back in the Beavers Hills district. And there is water coming out of here. I don't know where that came from. Okay, now I'm super confused. Oh, so I have some irrigation that goes all along here, and then just by pure coincidence I placed these tunnels right here. So I was gonna add in a fluid dump, but I guess we don't really need to. As long as you have this guy continue to irrigate, then we actually should be totally fine. We do want to make sure that we don't actually deplete any water or irrigation around here, so we'll need to keep an eye on this in case we need to add a second fluid dump. For now, I think it's worth adding a second one, at least to get some more water to fill this area up. And then if we add in a couple stairs, that way the beavers can get down to this area. I think that these two should be able to cover the entirety of the area that we've detonated with dynamite. So we can start the process, and we'll start with grilled spatter docks since that is the main reason that I am making this farm. And then we'll have some cattails on the other side. And it looks like this reservoir is actually being filled up fairly quickly. We've made some good progress. It looks like the beavers are maxed out on water in this district. We can probably add another water storage unit, although we have so much water overall, 18,000, quite a bit. But we do need to add some more housing, that way we can have more beavers, getting us closer to that 1,000 threshold. But we do have a lot of unemployed beavers at this point. Although we can focus more on well-being, we don't necessarily need to have every beaver working. With the triple lodge that houses 9 beavers, and then I think that we have 5 or 6 districts. We have Beaverland Hills, Flat Top Hill, then we have Toothton up in the middle here. The Beaverland Hills district is in the corner, and then way over here we have Twigtop Ridge. So if we add 2 of these triple lodges to each of these districts, it's going to give us an additional 90 beavers. And we'll just need to make sure that we can get their well-being up. And in Twigtop Ridge, we're actually a little bit short on space. We can fit some over here, but it's not quite as close to the other housing as I would like. Although I think we can actually fit some in between some of these gaps. We'll just need to bump them up in elevation a little bit. And then for this one, actually getting the beavers over here, I feel like we could do something a little bit better. If we move this roof, and then we could actually fit in one more housing unit right here. This one will be a slightly smaller one. And then we could also get another rooftop terrace over here. And then we're going to slightly rearrange the paths so we can go up in this direction. And then we can even fit one more rooftop terrace right next to it. And then of course I want to make sure we have enough decorations for these beavers, so we can put in a couple more roofs, and then let's see what other decorations we should give them. These beavers are missing shrubs, lanterns, and wind gauges, so those are all pretty easy to add in. And then we have some space over near these swimming pools to add in some more of those decorations. We're just going to plop some random wind gauges in front of all these houses. Thankfully this one has a fairly large radius for how much it spreads, so you can see it's 3 tiles. Versus the shrub is only 1, so we need to place those a little bit more frequently if we want the beavers to get the benefits everywhere. We can continue lowering the dynamite over here, and I've postponed tying everything in because I don't want the gravity batteries to go down until we can actually place all the dynamite we need. But fortunately it looks like we are at the bottom of the map, and if I use the tool to lower the elevation a little bit, we can finally get down here. And if we go down here, we only have a couple pieces of dynamite left, and as long as we high prioritize it, then we can get this final power shaft placed in. And I'm curious how quickly these are going to go down, since this is going to be powering this entire district plus the Beaverland Hills district, and you can actively see them lowering. They have 30,000 HP, and it went down about 1,000 in probably 1 beaver hour, so these are going to probably be done by the end of the night, but it will be a little something added to the system. I think we'll need to add a bunch more of these. We could make this area a mini gravity battery farm if we add in some overhangs and then basically go adjacent to this. Then we could add in 1 or 2 more rows, and then we could also add in some more over here. And we could definitely utilize dirt blocks for doing some of this, since that's way easier to do. So we have some additional housing in this district. Now we need to go to the other districts. Flattail Hill will be a really easy one since this is a newer district. We can utilize the overhangs to go over this rooftop terrace, and then basically just build right along here. And then we'll also want to keep up with the decorations. It seems like the beavers of this district are missing a few essentials. We don't have any contemplation spots, which are super easy to add in, and agora shouldn't be too difficult, although some of these monuments are a little bit more expensive. And then once again, we are short on books. We don't have any. I know we added in another printing press in the last episode. It seems like we're going up a little bit. We're up to 84. We also need to actually have some storage for the books. So if we place down a medium warehouse, we'll see if the beavers even want to send books over here. they might be using them as fast as they're making them. And it looks like all the water got pumped out of here, so there's not really any more going into this at the moment. But we did just get through the drought, so we should have some water returning in a few days, coming through here and then filling this whole big area up, and then we'll see how this gets along. And so I'll go around to the other districts and then add in a few more houses for each of them. We do have some water in the aquatic farms now. We still haven't filled this area up with water. It's just barely enough for the crops to survive, so we're going to leave both of those fluid dumps there for now. And it seems like these guys are pretty much going to sit around, wait for the crops to grow up. I don't know if the beehive boosts the crops for the water crops. I'm not sure. It might just be exclusive to some of the land crops. If you guys know, please let me know in the comments down below. Seems like overall we're actually running a bit low on grilled spatterdock, so good thing we added in that extra aquatic farm back in the Beaverland Hills district. But we do need to make sure that we have the processing power for that grilled spatterdock. We do have all our powered buildings over here. Hopefully, okay, on the bright side, it's day 3 and we've actually charged up a fair amount for these gravity batteries. And then we have a bunch of these beavers who are sitting around. I think it's worth removing at least one of these buildings. And then it seems like some of these are also not being used. Since we have some of the same buildings paused down here, let's remove a couple of these ones. And then we'll need a grist mill for the cattail crackers. And then we can set up a couple of grills over here, which is partway between the aquatic farm over here and then our storage, which is over in this area / the district crossings. And there's a bustling amount of activity going on over here. I think that second district crossing is definitely helping, since there are just so many resources that are stacked up in both of them. So it seems like we have gone through a good amount of our chestnuts. We don't actually have a whole lot stored up. And then we're doing great on maple syrup. We have several trees that are still ready to be processed. Then we've actually maxed out our maple syrup in this tapper shack. And then this guy looks like he can't reach anymore. But we don't necessarily need all these trees to be maple. We can remove a few of these ones, replace them with some chestnut trees. Then we can also add a few more chestnut trees on the backside here. And so I'm starting to add in some more of these levees. I don't know how much farther I want to overhang these dirt blocks. We can go a little bit farther. And it's day 4, and only at this point is the water starting to get all the way back here. We have these mechanical fluid pumps that are ready to start pumping. These gravity batteries are fully charged up. And the beavers are working on getting all these levees placed over here. We have some overhangs that I added in. I think this is a good area that we can terminate it, and then we'll just keep having levees going up until we reach all the way around here. But I do think we'll need to add in some more mechanical fluid pumps. Getting a second one to put water into here will not be an issue, but it's going to be a little bit trickier to get a second one going from this pool up into here. If we shift this one over, we'd have to rearrange some of the power shafts. We could move this zipline station this direction, since we do have a little bit of space that we could have the paths go. And that might honestly be our best bet at this point. And really I should have done this during the drought, but I didn't really think about it at the moment. And checking in on our aquatic farm, it looks like we are going up in water elevation ever so slightly, so slow and steady will win the race. But this is a good amount of grilled spatterdock. If we compare it to our other aquatic farm, it seems like we have a similar amount over here. Also, there's more dynamite that I placed forever ago. Don't even know when I placed it. Oh, and I have another one of these zipline stations. I thought that I connected it in, but I guess they can't reach this, so they never actually finished building it. So let's make that happen. I think this was several episodes ago. Clearly there's some outstanding items that I just didn't quite finish. But at this point we are managing over 700 beavers with 5 different districts, so there's a lot to keep track of. We can continue to add in some gravity batteries over in Twigtop Ridge, since it seems like power during the droughts is going to be an issue moving forward. And then we can start to get a second row of gravity batteries set up over here. I'm going to utilize overhangs, that way we can get all the way across. And then we just need to make sure we have some sort of path connected in. Thank goodness for this elevation change tool. It'd be pretty hard to follow some of these things otherwise. And it looks like the beavers are nearly complete getting all of these levees placed down. We're just missing this one, and then if you place a couple more in here, this will be completely sealed off. So we can start removing some of these paths, and then also this temporary sand pile that we made. And now we have 2 of these mechanical fluid pumps that are pumping water into this. And then we have this third one that is pumping water up into the reservoir. But I think we need to actually shift this over now. Alternatively, if we could get power going from here across onto this side, we could get rid of this platform and the one below it, or I really would just need to be this one. and then have the path go across the front. This would be a perfect little spot for another mechanical fluid pump to dump water into. I think all we need would be power going along this backside here, and it looks like that actually does work. So let's try and sneak that in instead. I think that should work a little bit better. And then I added in a couple more houses, but we do not actually have any paths set up. We'll actually need to temporarily remove a couple of these platforms, and then we'll also have access to on top of these houses, which means we're going to add some more rooftop terraces. And then let's see if we can fit an agora over here. We have this huge path going around. We don't really need it, so we can remove this set of stairs. And at this point we have the power shafts that are all set up along the backside, and now they've started constructing this mechanical fluid pump. Thankfully it seems like we do have enough power into the system, although that might be changing since the water is not consistent going through here. But we do have some gravity batteries and these windmills. I think that it's time that we add in a few more of these windmills though. So our power supply is not quite what it needs to be, but with these 4 additional windmills, and then we do have 1 extra gravity battery, I can fit another one. And then the last thing we need to do is actually connect this system into here. It's not going to be working for a while. Let's see the best way to connect it in. So now with these windmills and then also with these water wheels going, we're getting way more power than we need, although that is dropping very quickly. So as soon as this gets connected in, we'll have this working, but it won't be pumping water quite yet, which will actually be good, because then we can get these last 2 levees placed down and not have to worry about flooding part of our colony. Since it seems we also have 18 unemployed beavers in this district, it might be worth getting a few power wheels set up. They're a very primitive way of getting power, but if we have extra beaver power, might as well utilize it. And we have the whole system connected in now. If I remove these paths, and then I guess we can get rid of these stairs since theoretically we should not be using them. And then we can place these final levees down and we will be good to go. And I think that second mechanical fluid pump is actually doing a good job since the water elevation is rising quite a bit. We are on day 12 though, and then we have a drought approaching in just under 3 days. So we're probably not going to be able to see this upper portion of the reservoir get filled up. And then that's also where we're going to wrap up today's episode. Today was a little bit of a miscellaneous episode. We went through all the districts, put in a bunch of housing, decorations, and then other various random activities. But on the bright side, we made fantastic progress with our beaver population. We're at just about 760 beavers, which means we are 3/4 of the way to the end. But I think that we're going to be speeding up a little bit in the last few episodes. Maybe I'll be able to get to 1,000 beavers by episode 30, which means that these next 2 episodes might be very well action-packed. So if you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me. And with that, we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.